How can we lead by example in our faith? The first thing that we have to look at is the foundation of faith, which is authenticity in Christ. We can't lead until we've first been led, and that looks like us having a real, deep, authentic relationship with Christ. We have to get to know Him for who He is. We have to get to know His Word, His will, and His ways. The more time that we spend with Him, the more we're going to become like Him. They tell you in the natural that you become like who you hang out with. And that's even more true when it comes to the supernatural. If you hang out with God, if you abide in Him as He abides in you, you will find that your life begins to change. And that you not only know the Word, but now you're living it out. That you're not only a hearer of the Word, but now you're a doer also. That's part of having a new heart and a renewed mind. And the fruit of them begins to be borne out in the way that you conduct yourself. That's letting your light shine. It's a dark world out there, and people take notice of your light. The darkness only serves to make the light more noticeable. They're drawn to it. They take notice that your life is different. They take notice that you've been with Jesus, just like they did with the disciples. That can't be faked. People have an eye for superficiality, and they can see through it when we're telling them a lie. But when you have a real, solid walk with God, they can see that you really believe what you say you believe. And that makes them trust your word. And that gives strength to your testimony. Then as they see God's hand moving in your life, when they see how differently your life is going, and how much more joyful and peaceful you are, they can see past you to the God dwelling within you, which is what really matters. That's what we all want. Living with integrity is the next thing that we need to lead by example in our faith. Integrity means that we consistently align our actions with our beliefs, even when nobody's watching. That's the part where a lot of people get caught up. They don't have a problem putting on the Christian facade when they're out in public, but behind closed doors, they become a different person with totally different beliefs. That can't be us. That's hypocrisy, which actually means to play a part, to act. That's what so many people are doing. They're actors. They become like the fig tree that Jesus cursed. He went over to it not because it looked dead, but because he saw its many leaves. He was looking for figs to eat, but behind all of those leaves, there were no figs. Many Christians outwardly seem like they're spiritually alive and vibrant, like they're producing something. But when you get beneath the surface, when you look beyond the outward performance, you find that there's nothing there. There's no fruits of the Spirit. There's no gifts of the Spirit. There's no real relationship with God. It's all just empty branches. When we live with integrity, it's not just for the eyes of the people. It's more importantly for the eyes of God. And it serves to become the proof that our faith isn't just for show. It's real. It's from the heart. And it's what defines us. People may not see all those actions that go into a life lived with integrity, but they can sense it because it's rare and it's genuine and it's real. It can't be counterfeited. When people notice your integrity, it inspires them to live in the same way and to look to please God instead of pleasing men. The third way that we lead by example in our faith is by showing compassion and love to our fellow men. Jesus told us that they'll know us by our love. That's our greatest mark of distinction as Christians. It's the thing that sets us the most clearly apart from the unbelieving world. God is love. And as we love with true agape, unconditional, self-sacrificial love, we reveal Him and His nature to the people around us. True agape love is so contrary to fallen human nature. It starkly stands out to the unbeliever, and it shows them the very thing that they're missing in their life. They may never pick up a Bible, but they'll see it in how we live our everyday lives. They'll see it in our choice to live in love. We become a living epistle. We show them and expose them to their God. Then as we show compassion to others, we further reveal His nature. We show it every time that we comfort people, every time that we empathize with them, every time that we care for them and minister to them. They hear it in the way that we speak. They see it in the way that we act. And even if they never say anything about it, we know that it affects them and that it impacts their life. Love is a choice. It's a decision that we have to make. Sometimes it's hard, and we have to love people that we don't like, people that we disagree with, or even people who've insulted us and worked against us. But we're still commanded to love them no matter what, no matter how we feel in the natural. And this love, loving when it's hard, is the greatest example of all. The fourth thing that we need to look at is humility in leadership. As we lead by example, it's imperative that we stay humble. Humility means that we put God and others before ourselves, thinking about their needs and wants before our own. Humility is hard to cultivate because it has some stark opposition. As fallen man, our pride, our ego, our selfishness resist humility with all of their combined power. Humility takes effort and work to cultivate, but it is possible, and it's needed if we're going to do what God commands us to do and serve our fellow men. Serving is many times a thankless task. People may take it for granted, and that can easily bother us if we're too prideful. It can also be a task that we find to be demeaning and degrading if we have too big of an ego. And it's a form of work that we can easily find to be too time-consuming and as a burden if we're worried about ourselves only. Jesus showed us how to do this. He was the Master, the God of the universe, but he condescended to dwell amongst men in a human body, to take on the form of man, to become the perfect sacrifice to save us. He condescended to wash the feet of the disciples, when it should have been them who were doing that for him. And he condescended to hang out with all the outcasts, all the oppressed, all the downtrodden people. He was the friend of sinners, and we need to be too, because we can't serve people if we're not with them, and we can't look past ourselves if we're by ourselves. We need to get around the people that need help, and then we have to choose to do what's right and serve them in humility, in love, with compassion, showing them what a true Christian looks like. The fifth thing is living with purpose and intentionality. Understanding that God has a plan for our life, seeking out that plan, and then choosing to live in that plan is a powerful witness and testimony for our God. It shows that we have certainty, that we're convinced, that we're persuaded, that we know the calling on our life. People notice that. That's especially important too, because faith by definition is God's in-birth persuasion. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. When we have faith that something's going to be, we're persuaded that it's going to be. Today people lack faith. They lack certainty. They lack hope. And even if they don't realize it or admit it, they're looking for these things. They're tired of feeling lost, tired of feeling worn out, tired of being confused. And they want to know where they can find all it is that they're looking for. And when we live with purpose and intention, we show them where they can find it. For Christians who may be battling with doubt or feelings of uncertainty, our living in purpose shows them that they can find their purpose too. They can know God's will for their life, and they can walk in it as they daily take intentional and meaningful steps towards its fulfillment. Leading by example is something that will naturally happen as a byproduct of our living in purpose and with intentionality. Part of God's plan for your life is helping others to live out God's plan for their life. The sixth thing is enduring in faith through trials. One of the most powerful ways that we can lead by example is by demonstrating perseverance, endurance, and determination in the face of our trials. Life's challenges are inevitable. That's a byproduct of living in a fallen world. But it's what we do with them that makes the difference. They provide a unique and incredible opportunity to lead by example. People are going to be watching us when we say that we're Christian. They're going to be watching if we fold, if we break, if we give up. But when we don't, when we push through, when we keep our faith in God, when we stay trusting in His plan, it impacts the people around us. Faith isn't needed for the good times. It's needed for the bad times. That's when the rubber meets the road, when you really find out what you and your faith are made of. That's when you find out what it is that you actually believe. Jesus, for the joy that was set before him, endured the cross. And we know that we have joy coming on the other side of all the trials that we're forced to go through by the enemy. If only we endure and push through, we will see that joy. But we have to stay resilient, and we have to hold on to our hope. As we push through, we show the world that our peace and our joy aren't based on the external circumstances going on around us. They come from within, from the God within us. That shows them that they can have peace and joy in their life too. That shows them how they can make it through the hard times of their life, how they can remain faithful to the God who promises that He's never going to leave or forsake them. The last thing that we need to look at is equipping others for service. We not only have to lead by example by serving others, We have to show them how they can serve others too. That's how we allow our example to go far beyond ourselves. It creates a self-replicating cycle. We help one man, he helps another, they help somebody else, and it goes on and on like that. We need to help them learn to serve and encourage them as they're learning. We lead them not only by showing them service firsthand, but by teaching and mentoring, and even just by being a supportive presence in their life, being there to lend an ear, lend a hand, or lend our heart. That helps them to grow deeper in their faith, and it gives them a sturdier foundation for their service. It enables them to profit from our experiences and from the lessons that we've learned, without having to make the same mistakes that we've made, or pay the same price that it cost us. Jesus not only served, he taught his disciples how to serve too. He showed them what to do, and he helped them to learn by doing. Learning by doing is the best and the most effective way to learn. And we can help to bring that about in the church, in our family, in our neighborhood, and whatever other mission field that the Lord's given us. When we do this, putting forth our best effort and leaving the rest up to God, he'll allow our example to deeply encourage, inspire, and impact all the lives of the people around us, so that they can do the same. For more of God's Word, remember to like and subscribe. And we'll see you next time.